So you can see the garage behind me, and I'll show you a couple of things. I've been watching some videos online on how to do this more efficiently. I did buy myself some gecko sighting gauges, and I think that should help quite a bit. I also put together some sawhorses and a cutting table that I'm about halfway done with. I'm gonna get some plywood to make a rip gauge this afternoon so we can cut the siding lengthways. And I'm gonna go pick up a hardie plank blade for my dad's old skill saw. I don't really want to use my good skill saw to cut concrete siding with. And there goes my dog after a cat. What's funny is he'll probably get his butt kicked. He's a whole lot of bark and not a lot of bite. You can see I got a couple old sawhorses. I kind of added a little reinforcement to the legs to keep them a little more sturdy. And then I just used a bunch of scrap lumber to make this, looks like a ladder, but it's actually just to support the hardie plank. Hardie plank's really flexible, so if you just lay it across two sawhorses with bow in the middle or hang off the end or whatever. So this will give me a nice, long, supported way to cut the hardie plank. The other thing is it's a bunch of scrap wood, so if I set my blade a little bit deep, I cut through this, it doesn't matter. I am going to put some alignment boards on the sawhorses that stick up just a little bit so that this will, if I'm ripping something lengthways, this won't slide. So we'll get that all put together and we'll get this thing put out behind the garage, which is where we're going to start doing siding at, and start putting up some siding today. Should be pretty good. Okay, so I've got some braces put on to keep the thing from sliding back and forth on the sawhorses. I also put this little stop here on the end, so if I'm sliding a piece of hardie plank down here, I'll slide down, right, and hit that end piece. I set the height of this so that my skill saw guide that I make here in a couple hours once I get a piece of plywood will actually go over the top of this stop. So the hardie plank comes down and hits the stop, right? And then I can clamp over the top of this stop, which will allow me to not have the hardie plank slide around on me when I'm trying to push down lengthwise. The other thing, in case I don't want to use the stop or I find that it isn't effective, I actually hinged it so I can swing it down and out of the way. I put a couple 3 nails across this backside, and I put some slots in here so that it stops. Throw the board up there, comes down, hits there. I can cut. Well, I'd be cutting this way, right? So the board won't slide off the end. I'm hoping that'll just help a little bit in the whole process of cutting all the hardie plank. And I think that's about all the effort I'm going to put into this. I'm going to put a little piece of wood to stick up here to be able to hook the skill saw onto, so it's not having to be set on the ground or up on top of the hardie plank, because I don't want to ding up the hardie plank with setting the saw on it or anything like that. But for a whole bunch of leftover scrap wood, I think it came out all right. I think it should work a lot better than trying to do it just on a couple of sawhorses. I did take my hand planer and I planed off these. If they were uneven from here to here or from here to here, you can see I planed across here, and I did it again here and here and here. I also rounded out some of the corners, so if you bump into it, it's not as bad. These corners down here, this and this edge. Let me grab the camera, I'll show you the end of this thing so you can get an idea of how I hinged this. So what I was cutting off was these 3 nails, they were sticking through the inside because they were really big, right? They were, I don't know, 3.5 orange, something like that. But they've got this really big head on them, which works really well when this slides down. It clicks in, because I left a little wood notch in there, and those big heads stop it from pushing out. I'm not gonna slam anything into this, right? It'll have direct pressure. So, it should work okay. It might actually work well enough to where I might be able to put marks on this board going down the lengthwise. So hardie plank gets cut, the seams need to fall on top of the stud on the outside. You'll see that in a few minutes. We mark the studs with the Sharpie over the tie bang. But I'm hoping that I'm actually able to take a full length piece of hardie plank and slide it down to the stop, right? Hit there. And then I'm just gonna put some marks on this board out here at every 16 inches from that stop. You know what, let me just do that right now. If it works out, it'll work really well. If it doesn't, I'll end up hand measuring all of them, which is fine. So my hope is that I'm able to, well, you know what, let me just grab a piece of hardie plank and see what it looks like. And hopefully make a little more sense. There we go. Slid down there and hit the stop, and I could come over with my clippers and mark that. Boom. And cut. You can see how flimsy this stuff is. See how it bows? This is why this support board underneath works so well. It keeps it nice and flat. Looks like I screwed up and I should have made it maybe 1 bay longer. When I originally planned on doing this, I didn't plan on putting that stop on the end, so I planned on hanging over, you know, like that. And I got plenty of support, all good support, plenty down here. I suspect I'll end up doing it this way, but I guess you'll get to figure it out with me, because I haven't tried it yet.